Novelle Petronella, hope everyone's doing well today. So, on a personal note, I've made exactly 2 friends since I'm in Florida. Not bad for 2 weeks, that's one a week for any mathematicians. One is Winnie, and she's 75 years old, and she said that she will teach me about what the flat earth theory is because I know nothing about it, and I'm very curious to know why they keep getting made fun of. And I think she's as enthusiastic about flat earth theory as I am about XRP. So we agreed that we would sit down one day soon and we would swap our favorite pastimes. And she also told me that she has a podcast, and she said, "Would I like to hear it?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." So she sent me the link, and then I clicked the link, and it led to a podcast that she's a co-host on, and it's with someone named Pastor Bob. I can't get away from it. Everywhere I go. I mean, I don't. Nothing against anyone. I just hope that I don't get someone else trying to recruit me. All I remember hearing is something about we're going to have a major get together at the park for the holiday, but she called it the holy day. And then her and Pastor Bob were cracking up about that for 5 minutes. And then she said it was going to be really wild, and he agreed. And then at that point, I stopped the podcast. Maybe later. It's like an epidemic. It's like I think they're coming for me all the time, no matter where I go. When I was about to leave Texas, as a matter of fact, I was on the checkout line, and the checkout woman asked me where I was from, and I told her that I was moving here, and she said this is exactly where she's always wanted to live, but she's got 4 dogs, and I said, "Don't worry, you could still do it." And she said, "Really? If I ever come to town, can I look you up?" I said, "Yeah, of course." And she said, "Great. What church do you belong to?" And I said, "What? What are my choices?" And she said, "You don't have one, do you?" I said, "No, not necessarily." And she said, "Well, when I get there, I'll take you to one." And I said, we'll see about that. Just stay in touch. So my other friend that I made, his name is Scott, and he was introduced to me recently, and now we became friends, and I was happy because now I had 2, where recently I had none. And he showed me all the good beaches, and I was really grateful for that. And I did speak to him about crypto, like I always do, but I don't think he'll be investing or researching anything, which is fine. But anyway, he did ask me what I plan to do if XRP ever went past 50 something cents again. I said, "Scott, let's think positively, first of all, would you?" Like, you wouldn't know this, but it's been a very long year for some of us. I think he thinks that 50 something cents is the all time high, but I didn't correct him because he didn't seem to really be that interested in XRP itself or in any kind of crypto. So I abandoned ship at that time. But I think the way that he put it was, "Do you have any goals if XRP ever goes past 50 something cents again?" And I said, "Why, yes, as a matter of fact, I do." I told him that I have many goals, but one of them doesn't actually require XRP to move or like do anything, but it would definitely make it a lot easier not to have to take time off from work. But that is that I've had this really burning desire, or you could call it a goal, for the past few years, and I've tried to enlist many of my friends and a few of my coworkers, but so far lukewarm. But for some reason, a bunch of years ago, I was like, I don't know why I was doing this, but I was researching the poorest areas of the country. I just became obsessed with the idea, and I became obsessed with going there. And I finally zeroed in somewhere in the Appalachian region. That was the least fortunate region that I could find. And so I looked into it and saw that there were these missions that go into impoverished areas in different like neighboring states there, and they form teams of like 5 or 10 people. They take a week or a weekend or whatever, and they help to repair people's houses that are in really bad shape. Like, they'll fix the roof or the flooring or whatever it is. And one of them that I liked was a nonprofit, and they do really great work, so I was really impressed. And you can go there with a team of people. You can donate your time to working on a house for the homeowners that obviously can't afford to work on it or fix it themselves because they don't have the resources. But the thing is, I don't know how to patch a house. I don't really know how to do any of that. So I'm going to need a foreman. And so my new friend Scott was like, well, I know how to fix houses. I said, well, you got the job. There's no pay. But he seemed okay with that. So it was like a dream. Finally someone gets it. And I'm close now, so I can go much easier. So I was really happy about that. And then he pulled out a big liquid pipe and he showed me and he said, this is hash oil. And I said, oh, is it? And then he took a couple of hits off of it. And I said, well, the bad news is you're fired. We cannot have stoners on the job, Scott. And he said, I'll quit. And I said, we can talk about that some other time. And then the other day he called and said that he thought we should be dating. And I said, no, we shouldn't. And he said, is it the weed? And I said, no, surprisingly not. But he asked if it was because he's a redneck. And I said, no, like I'm always saying how I appreciate you guys for your ingenuity. So then he told me, I don't think I can just be friends with you, so good luck. And my first thought was, well, there goes frickin' Appalachia again. And my second thought was that was like 50% of my friend base that I just lost right there. So looks like it's going to be me and Flat Earth Winnie for a little while. But now that I'm so much closer to Appalachia, I don't think it's going to take me that much to find a team and a foreman to go there and fix some damn houses. I'll do it sooner than later now that I'm here. But I realized years ago that the times in my life when I've been the most happy have been when I'm not thinking of myself and when I'm in the middle of doing something for someone else. And I just know that nothing has ever taken me out of myself like that does. I think it's really a simple solution for happiness. If you want to be happy, just serve in some way. Like, not the kind of service where you say, no one in this family appreciates me and everything I do for them. Not that kind of service, but the kind of service that calls to you in particular. And I don't think it's even about like the money in the grand scheme of things. I think that can help any situation, but I think it's just about giving your time and energy to something that isn't you or me. Actually, I remember there was this one Thanksgiving I had when I was living in LA and I was really missing my family and I couldn't be with them. And I just figured it would be better to go donate my time giving out food to like much less fortunate people than to like sit and dwell on it. So I went down to Skid Row and I helped give out food to the homeless guys for that day. So like in the morning, usually on the holidays or certain other days, they would give them like clothing or food or whatever. Some guys lived there, some guys didn't. They still lived on the street. But in the morning for Thanksgiving, we gave out donuts and coffee, and there was like a line of probably 200 people. And then in the afternoon, they would eat Thanksgiving food. So that was inside in the cafeteria. And so I was doing that, and I stopped at some point and I sat down and I looked around. It was like time totally stopped. Like I had this really amazing moment, and like all that I saw were these happy faces just eating turkey. Like they looked really happy, and I had this intense moment of gratitude like I never had before. And then of course I started crying uncontrollably. I couldn't stop crying. And so much, like I was crying so much that like a couple of the homeless guys got up to come over and sit with me, and they're like, "Why are you crying, baby? It's okay." And I think that was probably one of the most beautiful days of my life. Like it really was such a special day, and I don't think there's an experience I'd ever be able to buy like that, and I know I wouldn't, and I don't even know that I could convey it, just how amazing that was. But I think sometimes that like our human mind tells us that we need things. I know mine does, and like we get those things, and then the mind's like, well, we need more things, and we need more, and then a hoarder is born. And incidentally, it seems like the more things that we have, the more seemingly unfulfilled we can become. It's definitely happened to me. And so, we always hear these things about building your exit plan and making sure you stick to it, in regards to your coin or your XRP or whatever, when it does go up and you know, that you want to have that exit plan. Like I do have that, but I'm also trying to build my exit plan into service as well. Like Winnie's doing it. Look at her. You know, she's 75. She's still doing it. So good for her. Scott, not so much. But by the way, he came back again. Apparently, he's changed his mind. And he said he's actually fine with us being friends. I said, this is probably why we're not dating. Because you're pretty much crazy. But anyway. So before I moved out of California, I remember I was like, really like as fast as I could, I was trying to liquidate this entire house. I had this 3-bedroom house and I was trying to get everything into one car and like 8 boxes that I was going to ship. 9 boxes, I think, is what I ended up shipping. But it was really overwhelming because every time I walked into another room, I would just look at all my stuff and I would get an anxiety attack. And there was no way that I was going to have all this stuff. Like I knew that I had to bring what I needed, but this was just, it just seemed like really insurmountable task. And then I think about this a lot actually, that a lot of like really nice estate sales that I've gone to where, you know, you walk into this beautiful house and the owner has either gone into like a home where they died, or, you know, you look at all this beautiful artwork on the walls and like the pottery and like the sculptures, and I used to get this really weird feeling like the human is gone from this house, but all their stuff is just here. And as beautiful as it all is to look at it, it's just like sitting here inert, you know, and I'll get really haunted and depressed by that. And anyway, so Appalachia, I'll be going there sooner than later. But there's a quote that I really like, and the quote is that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I think that that is really succinct, and I believe that. But sometimes I think it's just way easy to get wrapped up in what I need and like how busy I am and like what I have to do and all of that. And when I think about XRP and some of the other coins that are inevitably going to be making people more prosperous, much more prosperous than some of them are right now, it concerns me only because, not just because it's money and that whole thing, but because I've seen a lot of people that have a lot of money that are not happy at all. And I would just hope, I would want everyone to be fulfilled. You know, if money could do that for everyone, great, if that was enough, but I don't think that it is. And even though, you know, we've all heard the sayings, money doesn't make you happy, you know, the love of money is the root of all evil. I think for me, it comes down to like, I also want to make sure that I continue to live a life where I'm making a difference. Otherwise, the legacy that you leave is like, your headstone is going to say something like, you know, she was all right. Because they won't know what to put on it, and at your funeral, everyone will be like, well, she definitely had a lot of stuff. I could say that. Like, who needs that? They'll be talking about, like, oh, she had nice paintings, very good use of color. She did, you know? And then your eulogist, I don't know what they call them, but the person giving your eulogy, they'll be essentially struggling to think of nice things to say about you. And, like, I'm sure we all know why we loved her. Why don't we just leave it at that, right? What else is there to say? Let her life not be in vain on its own or whatever, and let's go eat. Does anyone really want that? I don't want that.